your own outcomes, and how to use publisher-provided learning outcomes in mastering. This feature can be a valuable way to identify specific places where you should focus your teaching, as well as provides a robust way to collect data on how your students are performing on specific outcomes for reporting to administrative or accrediting bodies. We will begin. There are two ways to approach learning outcomes in mastering: using your own outcomes and using the Pearson-provided learning outcomes. We will begin by showing you how to use your own outcomes. Begin by clicking the Course Settings link. Scroll down to the Learning Outcomes section. Here you can click on the link to get a list of Pearson-provided learning outcomes, or you can add your own outcomes for later use by clicking on the Add Edit Learning Outcomes link. Click on Add New Learning Outcome. You can also copy any learning outcomes you have made in previous courses by clicking on the link next to this one. Type in your outcome and click Save or Save and Close if this is the last outcome you wish to add. Click OK. Scroll to the bottom of your course settings and click Save. Click OK. To use these learning outcomes, you need to edit an assignment. Do this by clicking on any assignment. Edit an assignment using the pull-down menu. To modify learning outcomes, click on the fourth tab, Specify Outcomes. Here you will see all of the Pearson-created learning outcomes tagged to the items you have chosen for this assignment. Remember that if you are looking to address certain learning outcomes, you can return to the Select Content tab and search the item library for items by learning outcomes. You can change the outcomes associated with any item by clicking on the pull-down tab for that item. Here you can remove any outcomes you don't agree with or tag any of the outcomes you have created on your own. Click Save when you are done. You can also add any additional learning outcomes by clicking on Add Edit My Learning Outcomes, just as we did by going through the course settings page. The rest of the assignment process is the same as any other assignment. For now, we will see how to take advantage of these learning outcomes using the gradebook. Click on the Gradebook tab. To assess learning outcomes, click on View Learning Outcomes Summary in the gradebook. Here you can see the number of items you have assigned for each learning outcome, the percent of these items your students have completed, and the average score they have received on them.
By expanding any of the learning outcomes by clicking on the plus, you can see how students did on individual items within that outcome.
You also have the option to print these out or to export them in a spreadsheet format.
The exported data can display your results organized by outcome for every individual item or a summary of collective student performance on all items for a given learning outcome. In addition, you can also examine how individual student is performing with respect to the course learning outcomes. Let's look at the summary data. The file will automatically download when you save it. You should be able to open it with any spreadsheet program by double-clicking on it.
It should be relatively easy for you to use this spreadsheet to create a report for an administrator who has asked for these data, or simply to look for areas in your own teaching where you might improve. In our case, our students struggled on outcomes related to the scientific process and graph interpretation. Perhaps more emphasis needs to be placed on these outcomes in the future. In this lesson, we explored how to create your own outcomes and how to use publisher-provided learning outcomes in mastering. This feature can be a valuable way to identify specific places where you should focus your teaching, as well as provides a robust way to collect data on how your students are performing on specific outcomes for reporting to administrative or accrediting bodies. Best of luck with your courses using Mastering.